Hi guys, this is Mrs. Delise here again. Welcome to another lesson of Algebra 2. In today's lesson, we're going to be learning how to use quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations. We have here x equals a negative b over 2a plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Note that there are two formulas that are common for this, but I usually like the one that the plus and minus is in between two equations. So the one highlighted in yellow is the one that I usually use, but it doesn't really matter which formula you use, they're exactly the same. Okay? And moving on. Before watching this video, you need to make sure that you've watched the video about imaginary numbers already because the answers to the quadratic formula involves imaginary numbers or a number involves a number in a negative number inside the square root. Okay, let's start. We have A, B, and C. What is that one? Okay, so A is equal to, B is equal to, so our C is negative 5, our B is 5, so we have C in here. We have a b, and of course, our a is the coefficient of x squared, which is 1, right? 1x squared at this point. And then my formula is x equals negative b over 2a plus and minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So every time I see a B, I'll change that into a 5. Every time I see an A, I'll change that to 1. And every time I will see a C, I'll change that to negative 5. So moving forward, you'll get a negative 5 over 2 times 1 plus and minus. What's my B squared? 5 squared minus 4A times 1 C times negative 5 all over 2 times 1. Okay, not that bad, right? All we had to do is plug in the numbers where they belong. Moving on, I have x equals negative 5, and I think 2 times 1 is just a 2. And then we'll leave it alone for now. We have square root of, let us, you know how the bottom of it is 2 times 1 is also 2. So I'm going to put 2 right there already. So let's solve the one in the square root. We have 5 squared. What's 5 squared? 5 times 5. That's 25. And then you see these three numbers right here? I am going to multiply all of them. Negative 4 times 1 times negative 5. So that's positive, right? Because there's two negatives going on. Positive 20. Okay, not that bad, right? Let us change the color. You have x equals negative 5 over 2 plus and minus. You can simplify 5 over 2, right? Do, you can put 2.5 in there, but you don't have to. Or depending on what your teacher is asking you, but like for me, I am super okay with 5 over 2. Leave it alone. And then all over 2 because 2 is 2. You can't simplify, do anything with it. And then let me do a square root of 45. Okay, our problem here is that 45 is not a perfect square, right? You know how if that was a 36, my answer would be, if that was a square root of 36, my answer would have been a 6. But right now, 45 is not a perfect square. So if you remember previous video, we've learned that we're going to make a factor tree. Let's make a factor tree. So we have 45. Let's see, 9 times 5. And 9 can be 3 and 3. Okay, and double goes out the radical, single goes in the radical. And so our final answer for that would be x. I keep changing the colors, so it's not confusing. Plus and minus 2 on the bottom. And then you have 3 double go out the radical, single go in the radical. And so we have our final answer is x equals negative 5 over 2, which can be simplified by 2.5, but you don't have to, plus and minus 3 squared root of 5 over 2. You can simplify 3 divided by 2 into 1.5, but you do not have to. Not needed. So our final answer is negative 5 over 2 plus and minus 3 squared root of 5 over 2. That's it. Simple, isn't it? It's just a lot of work. But as you get used to it, there are so many steps that you can maybe skip. But for now, we are going very detailed. Now let's do letter B. We have A is 1, B is 3, C is 3. And so we have x equals, should I still write the formula? One last time, and then you do it on your own after. Okay, so what's my B? So negative 3 over 2a plus and minus. Oh, why I put 2a? 2 times 1 plus and minus 2 times 1 also. The square root of, let's put that in red. What's my B squared? 3 squared minus 4. A is 1. C is 3. Moving on, we have x equals negative 3 over 2 plus and minus. Of course, 2 is at the bottom also. We have 9 because 3 times 3 is 9. 3 squared is 9. And then I'm going to multiply all those three numbers right here. Negative 4 times 1 times 3 is negative 12. Yes? Agreed? Okay, moving forward, I will end up with, sorry, I have to keep changing the color. X is equal to negative 3 over 2 plus and minus. The 9 minus 12 is negative 3. And you need to make sure that you put negative 3 in there. Okay, now here is our problem. If you put negative 3 in the calculator, square root of a negative 3, we will get an error. And hopefully, you've already watched my video, Pure Imaginary Numbers. That way, you'll be able to relate what to do when the square root of a negative number comes in. So here we have x equals negative 3 over 2 or 1.5. It doesn't matter, plus and minus square root of 3 times square root of negative 1 over 2. Because you know how I have a square root of negative 3, I have to take that out of I have to take out the negative on a separate square root. And we learned on the previous lesson that a square root of a negative number or a square root of negative 1 is I. And so and remember, I always put, oh, let's put that up. That is two. And remember, I always put the I right before the radical. And oh, where did I get the I? That is coming from the square root of negative 1. Because the square root of a negative 1 is positive I. And if you're confused about that, please take a look at the video for pure imaginary numbers. And because I could no longer simplify that, my final answer is negative 3 over 2 plus and minus I square root of 3 over 2. Okay, last, should we have two more examples? Last example, let's see. Let A is 4, B is 20. Finally, we have an A that is not 1, and then we have 27. I am no longer writing the formula. Do you guys can deal with no formula already? So you have negative B, so negative 20 divide by 2 times, oops, what happened? 2 times A, that's a 4, plus and minus 2 times 4. So whatever I have on the right, I have on the left, of course. And then square root of hmm, b squared, 20 squared. Oh, a big number. Minus 4a minus c, 27. And so I have x equals negative 20 over 8 plus and minus 8. So whatever I have on the right, I have on the left. And then let us square root of, 20 squared. What is that? 20 times 20. That is 400. 4 times 4 is 16. Oh, let me highlight that so you don't forget. I will multiply all of those numbers. So negative 4 times 4 is negative 16, right? Negative 16 times 27 is negative 432. Moving forward, x equals, oh, I think we can simplify this. What is the greatest common factor between 20 and 8? I think they both can be divided by 4, right? That's negative 5 divided. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Plus and minus, and that's still an 8. So you know how this one is no longer the same because I now simplified this one. So they're not going to, in the beginning, of course, they're all the same. But then towards the end, as you keep simplifying, it's a possibility that they are going to be different after. So square root of negative 32. Moving forward, you have x equals negative 5 over 2 plus and minus 8 at the bottom. Oh, because we have a 32, we need to make a factor tree. Let's make a factor tree. 32. So hold on. Let me change this. 32. There's so many factors of 32. You have 8 times 4. Of course, you're not going to do 32 times 1 because that's still 32. You have 16 times 2, right? 16 times 2. So double, where did double go? Double go out, single go in. Double out, single in. But first, we have to make sure that we know that there is our negative in there in the square root. So let's take a look at square root of 32, square root of negative 1. Let me extend this friend right here. So let's move forward. Let's put that in here. X equals negative 5 over 2 plus and minus. We have 32, so that's 4 square root of 2. You see this one? I'm talking about this one. And then because of the square root of a negative 1, remember, square root of a negative 1 is I. So our final answer is x equals 5 over 2 plus, can we still simplify 4 and 8? We can, yeah, 1 half. So our final answer is I squared. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So I can put 1i in there. 1i, but you don't really have to. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So our final answer is negative 5 over 2 plus and minus I square root of 2 over 2. Okay, do you think we need one last example? Okay, let's have one super last example. We have A is 1, B is negative 2. Oh, that's the first time our B is a negative 2. C is 5. So X equals negative B. Negative B. Remember, the B is, the formula already has a negative, and then you're going to add another negative. So double negative here. We have 2 times 1 plus and minus. This is also 2 times 1. Whatever is on the other side, right? B squared. So negative 2 squared minus 4. What's A? A and C. So that is positive 2 over 2 because negative times negative is positive. We have, that's still a 2. Negative 2 squared, that's a 4, right? 4, negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. Then I'm going to multiply all these 3 friends right here. That is a negative 20. Negative 4 times 1 times 5. Moving forward, you have x is equal to 1 plus and minus. That's a 2 still. It's just, okay. 4 minus 20 is a negative 16. Hey, yay, we have a square root of a perfect square finally. So perfect square, 16 is a perfect square because 4 times 4 is 16. And so our answer is 1 plus and minus. Remember that square root of 16, square root of negative 1 over 2. And you know that, oh, remember 2 divided by 2 is just 1. And that's why we have a 1 in there. And so I will have square root of 16. X is equal to 1. Square root of 16 is a 4. And because of the negative 1, it's becoming 4i divided by 2. So this is 1 plus and minus 4 divided by 2 is 2i. And I could no longer combine this two because this one isn't an imaginary unit, but this one is a real number. So I can leave it as 1 plus and minus 2i. And that's it, you guys. I hope this lesson helped you how to do quadratic formula. Thank you. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section or email me about it. Thank you guys. I will see you on the next video. Bye.